Okay. Hello, YouTube. I'm just signing into TikTok. I have to get YouTube going first because often it fails. I don't know why YouTube does that, but it often fails. So I have to keep trying until I connect up with YouTube. Then I can go on here. My main audience is on TikTok. So just getting set up for that. Not usually on at this time. I've only got about 30 minutes right now. Hello. It's a weird time for me to be on. I've got about 30 minutes, I think, tonight. So I thought I'd come on now. I haven't been on in a couple of days. I've been busy. So happy to be back tonight. I love doing this. Okay, while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. And where are you from? It's been a weird day. It's like, is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? Can't make up its mind. Okay. And I did look up those TikTok symbols beside your names. Couldn't get any answers at all. North Georgia. Hi, North Georgia. I've noticed Americans tend to say what part of the state they're from, like east, west, north, south. And it's not just North and South Dakota, but they tend to tell. I don't think Canadians do that. Do we? I don't think we do. But yeah, Americans like to more pinpoint where they're from. And I often look up exactly where you're from, too. I'm always interested in that. New Zealand, we used to ski in Queenstown when we lived in Australia. Gorgeous, gorgeous down there. The ski conditions weren't the best, but what a beautiful little city down there. Anyway, it's just gorgeous. My kids hadn't seen snow because they were Australian. And well, they still are. But anyway, they had never seen snow. So in Queenstown, you bus up to the mountains. So you don't drive up there yourself. You tend to get on a bus and you go up. And then they get out of the bus and this filthy brown, black snow in the parking lot, they started playing with it. If they just walked 10 feet, there was a gorgeous white bank of snow, but they'd never seen snow before. So they get off in this filthy parking lot snow and start playing. It was hilarious. Okay, so where are you from? My parenting style, I just call it calm leadership. I don't really have a style. I just invented that. So yeah, because I'm kid taught. I've never studied any of this. Kids taught me all this. And they never said, by the way, the style is such and such. So I don't know what anyone else is teaching or anything. I just stay in my lane. Okay, where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Gee, I'm getting all sweaty now. You ever tried taking a jacket off while you're driving? I literally only think I've ever done it once because I had a bad experience with it. I didn't crash, but almost. So every time I try and take my jacket off in a seat or something, I always think of that. So where are you from? I'm in Vancouver, Canada. I'm not usually on at this time. I think I've only got a half hour. We'll see what happens. But I haven't been on in a couple days. And I missed you guys, so I thought I'd come on now. And I'm getting a fair few people turning up. I didn't know because it's Saturday night. But actually, if you've got young children, and especially if you're on the East Coast, it's like 10 o'clock, you might just be laying around looking at TikTok because you're exhausted from a day with the kids. So anyway, okay, so I'll just get going. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. My big course that's out, it's actually full right now. But anyway, what I'm considering doing, never mind, I'll say it all on my website. But anyway, you can also download my free behavior board. That's on my website also. I've got a 2-year-old, glad to be here. I would say most people on TikTok are all about toddlers. So most people who hire me have older kids for coaching, but most people on TikTok who ask questions have toddlers. I've been on here now for I got on here March last year, so. "10 children, 8 still in the home." Wow, 10 kids. That's busy. Would you have 3 sets of triplets and then a single? Wow. I hated being pregnant. My body just rejects it. Like I had back surgery after one, heart surgery after another. But yeah, I might have had more kids if I didn't have such miserable pregnancies. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Just relaxing after a long day with 2 under 2. Good for you. If you've got the reason why toddlers are my least favorite age is because they're the most dangerous. They're all feet, no brains. So they're cute as a button, but they're physically demanding. And But yeah, they wear you out. Non-biological, just trying to keep family together. Oh, I see. They're kids of kids, nieces, nephews, whatever. So you've taken everyone in. Good for you. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Good for you. Uh, is taking a toy away from a toddler who isn't listening to direction, a good punishment? Not necessarily. Not listening isn't what I consider bad. Hitting is what I would consider a bad behavior that you would correct. But not listening, I don't know I'd need an exact example to know how I would deal with that, because you don't want to be mean. Uh, I love watching your lives. I don't want kids, but maybe watching you'll change it. Okay. I always say this, parenting isn't for everybody. It was the most fun I ever had in my whole life, but I was born to be a mother. I knew it from the time I was a toddler. I knew I had to be a mom. So, and it's not for everybody though. If you go through life, and like I have friends who've never had kids and they have no regrets whatsoever. Although some of them will say that they wish they had what I have now, adult kids, right? So, but yeah, you got to go through 20 years or 30 years to get that. So, but yeah, they're not for everybody. Some people, I've actually known people who said they regret having kids. They love their kids, but they regret it. And they said it in front of their kids. Yeah, not the best. But anyway, so can I ask, what are your qualifications, educational background? I don't have any formal education whatsoever. I started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. That was 51 years ago. And I always had a knack for handling difficult kids. I'm very good at bonding with them and getting their respect, and they want to please me. That was sort of my skill. So and kids told me to do this. But by the time I sort of finished working with kids and started parent coaching, the teenagers said to me, you got to teach this, Lisa, because they said, no one's ever talked to us the way you do. So I always kind of felt that, parenting came easy to me, but yeah, it's just sort of my thing. So kids taught me all this. I've worked with hundreds of kids, and yeah, they taught me all this. They are your best teachers in life, because they're very smart, they're very wise, they're very clued in, and they don't have all the fuzz that we have in our head, all the baggage, all the history, all the habits that are already formed. They're brand new, fresh people, and they're going to teach you a lot about life. They're going to see it from a whole different perspective. So when you're with kids, open your mind. You can learn from them. Sometimes my toddler wakes up from her nap with a meltdown. Should I ignore that? My son used to do that from time to time. You think, oh God, what's going to wake up? It's going to be the monster or the sweetheart. So yeah, just ignore it. I would just sit and read. He would just be kicking sometimes. He's just off his nut, right? So I might just sit on the couch beside him and read a book. Eventually he'd crawl into my lap and we'd read together. Or else you can just ignore it. It's not a feeling. It's a lack of emotional control. It's not a feeling, really. It's just a lack of emotional control. Okay. Oh, daughter is 2, not coming to us when we call her to get changed. I would just go and get her. That's kind of a big ask. Yeah, I would just go get her. Say, come over here, and then you go get her. That is the consequence. If she doesn't come to you, you're going to go get her. But I wouldn't say it twice. I only say it once. Come here, we got to get changed. And she runs away. I would just go pick her up and change her. So take action. Consistent corrective actions is how you deal with toddlers. It's not about words, consistent corrective actions, because they learn through repetition. So yeah, they're not going to do that forever. I feel sometimes my kids control me. Should I do something? I appreciate your tips. Yeah, work yourself into being a leadership. That's how you do this. You learn how to be a leader. You learn how to be a calm leader when you're disciplining. I just did a video. Did I post it? I don't know if I posted it. Anyway, it'll probably go out tonight. Anyway, it's about leadership. Really isn't about discipline. It's about connecting with your kids, bonding with them. And you bond with a child in their world. Like you don't bond with a 3-year-old at the nail salon. You bond with them at the park, rolling down the hill with them, not watching them, with them. Like you don't parent from the sidelines. You get in the game and play with them. That's how you bond with them. So that when you're that close to them, they'd almost be embarrassed by being cheeky to you. Do you know what I mean? You become a mentor. So, but yeah, discipline is something you just want to get out of the way as quickly as possible. It's like a business transaction. There's no emotions whatsoever. Keep following me. If not, you might want to hire me, or you can download my free behavior board. My course is full right now, unfortunately. I have 3 mini courses for toddlers, but my big one is full right now. I know you don't consult step parents. Yeah, I don't. But do you have one tip for step parents? No, I don't. I just don't. Every single situation's completely different. What's your relationship with the biological other parent? Are you all friends? That's my best advice. Become friends. All become friends. Get on the same page with the other parent as best as possible. Um, yeah, they don't care. They just want everyone to get along. Kids hate confrontation. They hate icky stuff. So just try and get along with all the parents, step parents. Do your best to get along. Take the high road. If they're on the low road, you take the high road. And don't get into right fighting with people. Right fighting will never get you anywhere. It's better just to shut up. If someone's being a pain in the butt, just shut up. I know it's difficult. It's painful. I'm pretty quick with words, so it's hard for me to do that. But I'm getting better at it. It's like, because I'm in my 60s now, I'm getting older and better at all this stuff. But yeah, if someone's being a pain in the butt and really difficult and they're on the low road, just keep your mouth shut. Let them dig their own grave. Because I know that's what a lot of this is when parents separate. There's a lot of, sort of bad feelings in that. I'm so bad at playing. Well, I teach that. When I'm doing coaching, I get some parents. What was the one I just talked about this morning? Oh, this was so cute. This one mom, this was, I don't know how long ago. I tell a lot of parent stories. I never use names, obviously, but I tell a lot of parent stories. A lot of them are amalgams of different parents all mixed together, but it's the same lesson. Anyway, this was this one mom never played with her kids. Or I can't remember how many kids she had or whatever. But anyway, she just never played with them. But her consequence, if she yelled, she had to play Lego with her little boy for 30 minutes. He loved Lego. She'd never played with him. And I said, really? And she goes, no, I just don't play with my kids. And I said, oh, okay, well, you're going to now. And make sure when you are on that behavior board, you make sure you break the rule yourself. That behavior board's free on my website, by the way. It's bratbusters.com. Make sure you break that rule. So you do have to do the consequence. Because it teaches them that if you're accountable, they're more likely to be accountable. Also, your consequence is usually something bonding, something for them. So anyway, she had to play. If she yelled, she had to play Lego with her son for 30 minutes. She said, I don't want to do it. And I said, well, then I dug my heels. And as soon as she said that, I said, that's it. You have to do it. I can't come up with any other idea. I could have, but there's no way. Anyway, so she goes, okay. So the next week we had our session and she was smiling. And I said, what is it? And she goes, well, I yelled and I played Lego. And I said, so you played Lego for 30 minutes? She said, no. They played for 3.5 hours. She found once she got on the ground and started playing with her little boy, she goes, he was a completely different personality. He wasn't yelling at her. He wasn't throwing things at her. He was sweet. She just loved it. It was just beautiful. And I said, there you go. That's leadership, right? Connecting with your kids on their level. So anyway, I thought that was beautiful. Where did you bought your watch? Where did I buy my watch? Oh, this is just a Fitbit Versa. This is my second one. I don't know if I'd recommend it. I like it, but it doesn't last. Like they only last about 2 years and the battery won't recharge and you can't replace it. Anyway, I did buy an Apple Watch and I was because they last longer. But then I had an old phone that wasn't compatible with an Apple Watch because I look after everything. My phones last forever, but they just don't keep up with technology. So I had to return the Apple Watch. As soon as I did, my phone broke. So anyway, I had to go back to a Fitbit, but I would have had an Apple Watch if I'd had this phone at the time. Does that make sense? Anyway, it's not working. What, your watch isn't working? I don't know. So your parenting isn't working. My daughter constantly getting into things, try to set boundaries, Lynn. Well, you might want to hire me. The behavior board's just the start. That's about 10% of coaching is the behavior board. If you really are struggling, you're going to have to hire me. That's one-on-one coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live, and I can work with any time zone. But anyway, yeah, if you want my help in how to get close to your kids and how to set yourself up as a leader, you're going to have to hire me for that. Otherwise, just try my behavior board. Lots of people try the behavior board. It doesn't go so well, so then they hire me. That's okay, but it's better if you're on the fence just to hire me right away, because it's a little bit easier if you've never used the behavior board before. The kids don't have the history of you failing with it, so it's a little bit easier. Doesn't matter. We can work with anything. And usually parents ask a lot of questions in the first session. After that, they don't ask many at all. It's really interesting because they just have all these questions, but they start getting answered really quickly once we go through it. So if you're going to hire me, it's okay to ask questions, but it's not necessary because they usually all get answered pretty quickly as we go along. Do you have children? Yeah, mine are grown. They're 33 and 28. And I've got my first grandchild due in December. Like, what do I do? If you want to hire me, you go on bratbusters.com and it's under coaching and you can just hire me on there. I really suggest minimum 3 sessions. One session is there for some people just want, to like maintenance. They'll hire me after they've already worked with me. That's sort of what that's there for. But, or if that's all you can handle, whatever. But yeah. My 2-year-old just started throwing toys violently. Yeah, just say no and take the toy and put it away where they can see it. Okay. So you say no and then you put it somewhere so they can see it. But you got to do it every single time. And it's not going to work the first 10 times. It might take 50 to 100 times. It takes about 2 to 7 days to train them out of something like that. And then they're going to try it again next week, but then you just make sure you're consistent. But yeah, it's consistent corrective actions is how you deal with under 3-year-olds, because they're not about words. These mini therapy sessions, which drive me freaking insane because that's my nemesis in my business. That's what I'm up against. These mini therapy sessions discussing all the big feelings, all those little therapy sessions, they're not for your toddler. They are for you. They're not for your toddler. They need consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. It's the only way they learn. Like when you're talking about, oh, and your feelings, you know what hurts my feelings? They're looking at you like, I don't give a crap. That's what they're thinking. They're not listening in one ear and out the other. Actions they take notice of that. Yeah, I wouldn't teach this if I didn't have kids. I couldn't imagine. If you haven't lived with teenagers, how can you teach parenting? I don't understand that. Plus, I've worked with hundreds of kids with all sorts of challenges. Not once did anyone ever say to me, hey, Lisa, here's an easy kid to work with. I always called them alphabet kids. They had ADHD, ADD, WXYZ. I mean, they're alphabet kids. So I've never worked with an easy kid. My kids were easy, but because I got respect when they were tiny, right? But yeah, I've never been handed an easy kid. Here you go. Here's an easy one, Lisa. Not once ever. Okay. How to set boundaries. I don't really set boundaries. I don't know what you mean by that. You mean the authority style parenting? How to set boundaries? I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean? I don't really do that. Once your children respect you, they know what good behavior is and they know what bad behavior is. When you're a leader, they're good. It's just the way it is. It's all about you. It's not about your kids. It's about you. We're not fixing kids here. We're teaching parents. When you're a leader, because I've got respect from hundreds of kids. Do you think it was all them? I just happened to luck out and get all those kids that, you know what I'm saying? It's all about you. If you're a leader, they follow you. They just do. They respect you. They want to please you when they're little, and when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you. That's the power of leadership. You think about it this way. If you know someone in your life that you really look up to, don't you feel good about yourself when you're with them? Don't you want to please them? Don't you want to like make them happy? Don't you want to? And that's usually mutual. They usually respect you too. That's that mutual respect that I talk about all the time. That's why the behavior board has you on it too. You give respect to get it. You can't just demand it. You got to command it by giving it. You got to earn that. My son was so different. I hear that at least 7 times a week from clients. Well, you've never worked with a kid like mine. I'm rarely thrown for a loop. It's very rare. Maybe once every few years, something will come up and I go, oh, that's different. But yeah. All children that I've ever met respond very well to calm leadership. Okay. How to get them to listen without repeating multiple times. Well, I don't repeat myself. I say something and then I take action. I don't repeat myself at all. Like, I don't know what you mean by that. As soon as you have to repeat yourself, they're in charge. They got you by the nuts. They're in charge. See, I don't repeat myself. Although I keep saying I don't repeat myself, so I'm repeating myself. Okay. How can I lead more than being the authoritative one? So there's 2 really distinct types of parenting. The old-fashioned way is the authority. My way or the highway, I know everything, you follow me, do what I say, right? And then the other one is just pendulum, just swung the other way about 30 years ago. And these are the pleaser parents. They're discussing all the big feelings. They're trying to make life easy for their kids. They're trying to make everything enjoyable. They're trying to cherry pick teachers for them so they get the teacher that they like. They're trying to make rolling out the red carpet. If you're going to err on either side, err on the side of the authority. The authority raises stronger people. The pleaser raises very weak people with mental health issues. I said that 30 years ago. They're going to be raising a bunch of self-entitled snowflakes, which is really common these days, way more common. Mental health is at an all-time epidemic. It's just horrendous. It's because it's all these pleaser parents for the last 30 years. That style has been raising these weak individuals. Anyway, I don't do either of those. I'm the leader, and I'm guiding children into making good decisions. That's all. I'm there to have, there's a consequence if you make a poor choice. I used to say to my kids, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom. And that's my job. So I never really told them what to do. I guided them into making good choices. If they made a bad choice, I'd say, hey, what should we do about it? And they'd say, oh, okay, no TV tonight. And I'd say, no, just brush my hair for 5 minutes or something like that. So yeah, a leader is very much, you're also accountable though. You're not the know-it-all. You're a really good listener. You listen to understand and show empathy, and then you stop talking. If they want your advice, they're going to ask you. And that this encourages children throughout the years, throughout the teen years, they'll tell you everything. So yeah, they don't want you to tell them what to do. They just want to be able to, you want to be a safe place to land. They're going to tell you everything right through the teen years. That's a leader. My mother was both. It was very confusing. I'm learning as I go. So she was the authority, then the pleaser. What people usually do is they ping pong back and forth. They're trying to be the pleaser. They're trying to discuss all the feelings and reason with their children and not lead them at all. But they're trying to sort of they want their kids to like them. I could have cared less if my kids liked me. It was my job to raise nice people. That was my thing. But we ended up being really good friends anyway. We had a lot of fun. But anyway, that pleaser parent tends to want their kids to like them. And then everything gets out of hand. Then they become the authority and they go the other way. So back and forth and back and forth, and it's so confusing for the kids. Leaders are very consistent. My kids knew 100% exactly how I was going to react to everything. Guaranteed. They knew exactly. That's why they never asked me anything if they knew the answer would be no. Why would they? Like if they asked me something ridiculous, I'd say, are you kidding me? Like why, I was so confused if they asked me anything and they go, oh, never mind. So you see, it's that 100% predictable. But also I was very open-minded. As they grew up and in the teen years, I didn't want to be a leader anymore. I wanted them to be their own leader. I'm just there for backup, to bounce ideas off of, to talk to about everything. But by that time, I wanted them to be strong, their own leaders, right? I have a funny to tell you about the boards. I've heard, oh, hi, Tash. Oh, okay. Tash did the course with me. That course, unfortunately, right now is full. I don't know if I can manage it the way it is. I have a group coaching going with it, and it just gets so busy that way. And then I have it running different times. So what I might just do is, for now anyway, offer that course without any group coaching, and you can just get the whole course for a lesser fee. That way, everyone can have access to it. It's just full right now. I can't take everybody. I can only manage so many people in group coaching. So anyway, we'll see. But Tash went through it with me, and excellent. Okay, this is Tash who did the course with me. And then she just said that something funny happened on the behavior board. Dad got super frustrated and decided to throw the boards out. Kids went to the trash and here, Dad, you got to be a leader. That's so cute. That is really cute. The reason why kids like the behavior board, it's not just because they get to punish their parents. It makes them feel safe. I know that sounds crazy, but it makes them feel safe. Children feel safe with a leader. And the behavior board represents leadership. They generally love, crave, and need leadership. And that board represents leadership. That's why. Dad got super front. That's very good. When is your next course? I am going to have to put it out there. It just filled up. I just can't manage it the way it is. I didn't realize that. And because when I'm doing group coaching, I need to be able to serve everybody in that. And it just isn't working out that way. Like I can't let you know what I mean? I have to limit the number. So I'm going to have to figure it out. I think I'm just going to limit. I got it all figured out. I'm going to offer the course. You can get the whole course. It won't be paced out. I won't be in that with you. I won't be coaching with you for now anyway. For the summer, probably I'll do it this way. And I'll just, reduce the price for now. So then you can get the whole course on your own and pace yourself out however you want to do it. Although I strongly recommend you do one lesson per week. But anyway, I'll get that all sorted out. Okay. I mean, it's difficult. I want to serve you exactly how you need to be served, but sometimes I have to trial and error, try things out, and so I'm doing my best. But what I do want to do, I've sort of been thinking about this, is I definitely want to get that toddler talks thing going, where it's just a group Zoom call with a bunch of toddler parents. And it's just a one-off. You just sign up for whenever you're available, and you just turn up in one session, and we'll just talk about toddler, because there's so many of you with, and you can tell me what you're going through. So I'm going to get that set up hopefully this week. I think that'd be a good one. Most of you on here have toddlers, but most people who hire me for coaching don't have toddlers. They have older kids, 3 and over. I'm figuring it out. TikTok's thrown me for a loop because I just blew up here overnight, like a year ago. So yeah, I've had to adjust things because it's a different age group. I have teenagers. Yeah, I specialized in teenagers. So, and now I've got a lot more toddlers. Believe me, if you can handle teenagers, you can handle anything. They're my favorite age, absolute favorite age. Not many people coach teenagers. There's a very good reason for that. The results are very not guaranteed at all. It's very difficult, and they take a long time. It's a slow burn with teenagers, because it's taken you years to get where you are in a negative way often. So it's going to take some time. So it's very difficult, and it can be very frustrating. And there's a lot, it has to be heavily experience-based to work with teenagers. I've never been hired by a, what are they called? A youth, what are they called? Shoot, in schools, in middle schools, usually they have what they call a youth, it's not a youth coach, a youth worker. They specialize in troubled teens. I've been hired by, like, for private coaching, tons and tons of teachers, principals, school counselors, child psychologists, but I've never been hired by a youth worker. Anyone who can work with troubled teens doesn't need my help. They are like the PhD in all this, because if you think you can outsmart a teenager, good luck to you. It's not about that. It's about figuring out how to bond with them. And anyway, so yeah, I've never been hired by a youth worker. Isn't that interesting? I've been hired by every other profession, but not youth worker. Okay. Makes sense to me though. But my oldest is 14 and she acts like annoying is the new cool. She's so intolerant. Yeah, she just doesn't respect you. You can work on that. And it's not about being out clevering her. It's about knowing when to take a step back, knowing when to give her space, which is hard to do. And it's usually at the moment when you don't want to. It's knowing when to disengage to get respect. So yeah, it's kind of tricky. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me for that. It's very specific to each family. But yeah, you got to know when to shut it down. And it's usually in the moments, the least time you want to do that. So it takes some control. Now, do you think this was easy for me? I started mentoring troubled teens. I had very little training. I never used any of it. And just because I knew I was going to have my own style. But it was the patience that I had to work on. That was the biggest thing. And I thought, oh, I get it. You're not telling them what to do. You're bonding with them. And once you've bonded with them, they kind of don't want to disappoint you. You got to figure out how to bond with them. But it's not like being cool and buddies. It is sort of, but you're still very much, there's a line there where you're still the leader or the parent. But yeah. And then you bring out the best. You focus on the good teenager. You bring out the best in them. When they like themselves, when they're with you, they tend to want to please you. That's your secret with all of this. You're like any kid, any age. When they like themselves when they're with you, because you bring out the best in them, you focus on the good kid. You deal with the bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. When they like themselves when they're with you, they want to please you. You are the source of their high self-esteem. It's gold. It's just, that's the secret to all of this. Make them like themselves when they're with you, because they're good kids. They're just nice. It just works. Okay. Would you make a 15-year-old take out a nose ring she did herself? Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. I don't know your relationship with her, and I don't know. I would have to discuss that. Would that be a contentious issue? And why does she need to lose the nose ring? Do you not want her to have a nose ring? Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. That could cause problems. So not necessarily. There's not a black and white answer to that at all. Is it infected? If it is, I'd take her to the doctor. But if it's just because you don't like it, I'd probably say, well, let her keep it. Is it that Is it that big a deal? My son was, I think, 15 or 16, and he was starting to talk about getting tats and piercings. And I was envisioning the big backgammon pieces, and I don't know what I was envisioning. Anyway, so I said, I'll tell you what, because I never really told my kids what to do, really, but I discussed everything, and they just kind of respected me. So I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I don't really, when you get tats and piercings, you're kind of making a lifelong decision. And you're 16 now, so maybe in 10 or 20 years, that'll be a decision you regret, and you can't really change that very easily, especially if you have big holes here or something. And it says something about you when you go out in the world, right? You may not want to send that message 10, 20 years from now. So I said, I'll tell you what, how about no tats and piercings, but do whatever you want with your hair, which he did. He grew his hair down to his bum, and he streaked it black, white, and silver. And I didn't care. And then when he got bored with it, he shaved it all off. So, but yeah, so you gotta negotiate with them. And even then I didn't say no, like I don't come in like that, because then that's, wouldn't have worked as well. Oh shoot, I'm gonna have to go, just a sec. We got the sun coming in. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, to take her electronics away. I got to be careful with that. How do I deal with my 16-year-old daughter being inappropriate online? This is the third time we have had to take her electronics away. No. You got to do some work first. Like when I'm working with parents who have teenagers, that's 5 sessions, by the way. That's not 1 or 3 sessions. When I'm working with parents of teenagers, the first 2 sessions are just connecting with that teenager. Then the 3rd session, we can start to discipline, or not even discipline. We can start to work on stuff that you really want to address. But the first 2 weeks are just working on your learning how to talk to her, how to drop the defenses. And you're not going to like what I tell you to do either. But no parent does. But once they get the results, then they go, oh, I get it. But yeah, you gotta learn how to work on yourself and how to connect with her in a different way before you can even consider taking stuff away. Yeah, does that make sense? You're just going to build resentment, and it's just going to be like this. You don't want that. So be careful with that. I love your perspective. Thank you. Oh, you're very welcome. I've been doing this forever. I'm in my 60s now, and I've been working with kids for 51 years. I first started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. And they started giving the really difficult kids to me because they realized I was good at getting respect. And I was 11. I just always kind of came naturally to me. I bond with kids. That's how I get it. I get close to them, so they want to please me. They like themselves when they're with me. That was my way I did it. I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know what it was called. I just call it calm leadership. I don't know what do you call that? I don't even know. And you become a really good listener. You listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. You can. Good luck with that. It's not going to work. They want your advice, they'll ask for it. If I went to my mom with a problem, she would say, well, I don't know, you're a smart girl, you can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was solving all my own problems. Turns out I was talking to my mom, and she'd go, yeah, I remember what I did. Or, another way of going about that might be, I didn't even know she was feeding me information, but she did it in such a beautiful way. So with my kids, I'd say, yeah, that sounds good. I remember what I did when I had that, what type of plant is that on your, oh, it's a fake one. Most of my plants are real, but I also have some fake ones. This is my favorite one. It's from IKEA, and it actually looks real. It's a good one. But the rest of them those are all real. All my stuff, all my furniture and everything is, it's like 35 years old. I just painted everything, and that couch is 30 years old. It's leather. Everything I've got's really old. That cedar chest is about 80 years old. My mom's. Anyway, yeah, I got all old stuff because I'm old. I'm red. I always say I can't wear vintage because I am vintage. You can't get away with vintage. It just looks like you never got rid of your old clothes, right? I love being in my 60s. I didn't like my 50s, so I like my 60s. Okay, back to parenting. Do you notice that boys are more defiant than girls or the other way around? No, I would say when they separate, the sexes separate, and you can definitely see differences, is when they get hormones start to kick in. And the boys, usually around 15, they stop talking as much, or they don't talk about feelings as much. They just tend to hold stuff back more. I would say I've seen that pretty consistently with boys. And then the girls tend to talk about their feelings forever. But I've seen that they don't really tend to split in any way. They tend to have just as many tantrums, just as defiant. But the only real difference I've seen with the sexes is around 14, 15, boys start turning into men. They start internalizing their feelings more. I would say that's pretty consistent. But there's exceptions too, but generally that's what I see. Well, it's amazing. You take very good care of your. I take very good care of absolutely everything. When I, what was it? I had something and it was so old. And they said, "Oh, has this been put away for the last 40 years?" And I said, "No, I've had it for 40 years. I just look after everything." My sewing scissors I bought in 1978. They're still as perfect as they. And if you know anything about fabric scissors, you know they have a thing on them that says "Do not touch," because the kids were not allowed to go near them. I've had those same scissors since 1978. They are pristine. I look after everything. It's just, I'm not OCD, but I'm borderline, I would say. Okay. And I clean everything every single day. You should see me go. I love cleaning. It's relaxing. No one else should be like that. I just love it. It's just crazy. Okay. How to stop a 2-year-old from running away to me when he has something he shouldn't or just runs off. So if you're out in public, always restrain them. That's about safety. Put them on a leash, a harness, or a lead, whatever you want to call it, and they have to earn their freedom. So you say, "No, you do not run away from me," and then you clip them on that thing and you leave them on there for the rest of that outing. Okay, you don't off and on, off and on, off and on. Don't do that. Don't get pulled into that trap. You just clip them in if they run. Clip them in. Say no when they run away. They'll learn. Don't get caught up in that. "Oh, I don't want to put my kid on a leash." Well, you restrain them in a car seat. What's the difference? You want to keep them alive. You don't want them to be flattened by a bus or grabbed by some freak or something. 13-month-old screams when he doesn't get his way. Should I just ignore this behavior? Yeah, that's still a baby, though. I kind of use distraction. And it's not like, "Oh, here's some candy." It's not like that. It's like this. So if a 13-month-old, you just took like something away from them they shouldn't have, and they're having a fit, I would just go off to the side and start, if you want to do this, and start reading their book out loud to myself. They will eventually, and you're not looking at them, you're not talking to them, you're not going, "Come over here," because it just makes it worse. You completely ignore tantrums. But it's mild diversion with a baby. So you're reading the book. "Oh, and then the doggy went over here. And what's this doing?" Oh, and eventually they'll just come over. So that's the plan. If they don't, they'll eventually learn. "Please help clean my house. I can't keep up with my twin." That was my relaxation, was cleaning. I just love it. Should anyone else be like that? No, why would you? Like, I never, plus I'm a closet cleaner. I don't clean in front of people because it's my meditation. It would be like doing meditation in front of people. It's just my relax. So my kids never really saw me clean a lot, but I clean every day. And, but yeah, it's not for everybody. I'm just weird. I love that idea. I'm definitely going to try it. Yeah, you're just reading. You're just so, you're so reading. "Oh, look at the doggy. Oh, and it's pulling the kitten away. And oh, it's lovely." And then they'll come over. That's that. I learned that when I was young, when I was working with those little kids in the daycare center, and they were rotten. I had no leverage. And these were like some real rotten kids that you have to deal with sometimes, right? That's what I would do. I would pull out a book and I'd just go in a corner. "Oh my God. Oh, wow. Wow, look at this." Next thing you know, they're coming over. They want to see what's so wow. So yeah, I used that technique a lot when I was starting to learn how to get respect with kids. That's one of the first things I started doing. Except the laundry. Laundry is one of my favorite things. My favorite thing to do, I'm just going to go into this a little bit because you're here and I love talking about it. I love cleaning the bathroom. I do it every single day, sometimes more than once. I love bathrooms and kitchens. Anything that's really, gets dirty. I don't like dusting as much. I don't see it as dirty, but I take a feather duster and hit every surface. And then I clean the floors, kitchens, and bathrooms really thoroughly every single day. Yeah, and I change all the towels every day. And yeah, I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I also clean my shoes every time I use them. The bottom. But I've got such a system down. I have over 100 cleaning cloths, and I have a system. Like, it's just so fast you wouldn't believe it. So anyway, yeah, I'm crazy. Absolutely. I've done stuff that I used to vacuum our mailbox in Australia. We had a mailbox at the end of the driveway in Australia. And really early in the morning, I'd go out and do it so none of the neighbors would see me doing it. And I'd be out vacuuming the mailbox. Yeah, and your kids just learn. Like my kids, I had a toy rotation system going, so they never had very many toys out at any given time. I never had a problem keeping the house clean with kids because there was 2 rules. There's no shoes in the house. You wash your hands every time you come in. I do that still to this day because I can always tell when people don't wash their hands when they come home. Just certain things are dirty. They just have a grime on them, like light switches, cords for blinds, because you have dirty hands when you're in your own home. So I taught my kids when they were little, all your shoes come off at the front door and you wash your hands the second you get home. You don't touch anything in my house until you washed your hands. And there's no food around the house. If you want to eat, you sit up and you eat, and then you wash up afterwards. So there was nothing to make a mess with. Nothing. They never had food around the house. They never had dirty hands. They never had, see what I mean? So yeah, I just maintain clean. I don't clean dirty, I maintain clean. So yeah, they didn't know any different. And they'll tell stories about that one story in particular I don't feel like sharing, but yeah, I'm a bit nuts. They were happy kids, right? We had a happy house, but yeah, I was very fussy. OCD much? I'm actually not OCD, and I know I'm not because I know someone who is OCD, and I always thought I was, but I'm not, because if a mess happens, I don't freak out over it. And if I don't clean one day, like sometimes if I have people over, I can't always clean, it doesn't stress me out. But I get excited when people leave and I can clean. OCD is different. But I always thought I was, but I'm not. I'm just a fuss fart. Because I love it. It just makes me happy. Being clean, and I'm very fussy with myself too. Very, very weird. Any advice on parenting a 13-year-old boy? He thinks I'm being too harsh. Maybe you are. Are you giving him a say? Are you negotiating with him? He's 13 now. He's not 10. So you have to start negotiating, and you have to be really good at listening. Are you listening to understand? You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. So you got to assess that. You got to change your parenting. You don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. You save it for the big stuff. If you're going to sweat everything with teenagers, you got to let them make mistakes and say, oh, that's okay. Like if a teenager did something stupid when I was mentoring teens or whatever, and I'm not talking huge stuff, but if they did something, kind of bad, I would say, well, yeah, that was stupid, but wait till you hear what I did when I was your age. So it's okay to be human and make mistakes. So maybe you are being too harsh. I don't know. How clean your kids are now. I'm proud of the fact that they're not. I never pushed that on them. Like I never got them to do that excessive cleaning. I did it. That was my own standards. I never pushed that on them. So they're not clean at all. They're just average. They're not they didn't inherit that. I was born that way, by the way. My parents weren't like that. I was born this way. I knew I was fussy because when I was little, I used to love going to friends' houses when their parents were fussy. And I used to love staying at this one little girl's house. Her name was Julie. And her mom, every Saturday morning, they would clean and they would get the vacuum out and clean all the stairs with the vacuum. I used to love staying at their house Friday night because Saturday morning we'd clean. Now, it was just, I was born this way. And I used to watch her when her mom was cleaning. I'd watch her because my mom wasn't that fussy and her mom was very fussy. So, but yeah, so I was just born this way. It's not for everybody. I'm not saying it's a good way to be. It's just who I am. I'm okay with that. And I'm okay if you're not. Doesn't bother me at all. If I can go visit a friend and sit in their filthy house, I could care less. I only care about my own home. And that's the thing. It's like your way is okay, but it's never your way is or the highway. Like that's just a narrow-minded way of look at life. Like just because I'm fussy, I don't think anyone else should be. Okay. What are appropriate consequences for a 3-year-old cursing? Say no bad words. And when they say a bad word, then they have to clean out the kitchen sink or clean out the bathroom sink or they don't do a good job, but they just have to do an act of kindness. So every time they say a bad word, okay, here's some Windex on a cloth. You go and wipe a window. Get them to do a chore, like an act of kindness, something like that. And I know what you're going to ask after that. I think you may not, but anyway, because I've got another answer for that. Oklahoma. Hi, Oklahoma. You've been here before. Oh, you've been here lots of times, Kat. Hi. Um, yeah, your 3-year-old that purposely won't use the toilet sometimes. Um, I don't know what's going on there. You're not a leader, I'm assuming, because they wouldn't do that if you were a leader. Just work on your leadership skills. That's kind of another one of those things where I'm hesitant to discipline toileting, bodily functions, because it can get kind of emotionally, it can cause some long-term effects. So I don't know exactly what's going on there, but work on your leadership skills. Don't focus on fixing your kid. Focus on your leadership skills, and then that shouldn't happen. If they're doing it out of out of defiance, you said defiant. It's a bit of a tricky one. I'd have to assess that more to figure out what's going on there. More consequences for 7-year-old girl rather than screen time. Well, the screen time is always a secondary one, and so we always have two consequences for the kids. One is a positive action. If they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation, which is 24-hour media blackout or something like that. Well, then just take away something that she really likes, or say, okay, well, we were going to go. I don't know, we were going to go to the park or something. We were going to go for a whole hour, but because you did that, we're only going to go for half an hour. You were only ever going to go for half an hour anyway, but just say something like that. So you're taking something away. That's the negative deprivation discipline that you only resort to if they don't do the positive action. And that's on them. That's their choice. I always said to my kids, if your good life is good, if your bad life ain't so good, I'll make sure of it. Like it's all up to you is what I was trying to get across. You're accountable for your own actions. I always taught my kids that. That's why they never defied me, because they always had it in their head that it was up to them. You see, they were accountable. So why would they blame me if they had a consequence? They didn't. That would be as ridiculous as if you get a parking ticket, blaming the parking attendant. I never understand that. You park illegally, you get a ticket, then you yell at the parking attendant. I know exactly how you were raised if you do that. You see, it's just such a lack of respect for other people and a lack of accountability. So I was only here for 2 minutes, you F and this. I've actually seen that in the streets. They're parked illegally. They run in to get a coffee. They come out, they're getting a ticket, and they argue. You parked illegally. How can you argue that? Like, I just don't get that lack of accountability. But they weren't raised with uh, accountability, obviously. Every time I see that, I'm like, what is this? Crazy. Would that make them associate cleaning with a negative thing? Oh, you're the pleaser parent. What's wrong with that? Most people don't like cleaning anyway. What's wrong with that? And look at it this way. It's not even so much like you're doing something horrible, but it's a good deed. It's a good deed. So you do something bad, you do a good deed. You do an act of kindness. You help out. But yeah, don't try and make cleaning fun. I mean, I loved it, but that's weird. I was weird that way. Um, but yeah, who cares if it's okay to make it a negative thing. Like, oh God, I don't want to get into a whole thing over that, but you're the pleaser parent. I know you are, but you have to be to say that, right? Because you want to make everything fun and you want to put a positive spin on everything. I used to teach my kids, hey, you're not going to like to do everything. You got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. My kids would never have asked to watch TV until they'd done their chores. Like they understood, I didn't try and make chores fun. They understood that you got to do what you need to do. You got to pay your rent before you can live in your apartment. You see, you got to earn your privileges. I taught them to be responsible and to do what they need to do before they have discipline. That's self-discipline. So yeah, I didn't try and make everything fun and easy for them at all. I didn't try and make cleaning fun. Yeah, you're responsible for your own action. If you're getting a consequence, that's on you. That's why my kids never blamed me for that because they understood that was their choice. It had nothing to do with me. They literally, if they did something wrong, they would apologize to me and then say, "Oh, how about no TV tonight? Nah, that's too much. How about you just give me a scalp massage?" Something like that. When did you introduce allowance? Do they earn allowance or just get it? Okay, I have a video. It went viral. I think I pinned it actually. And it's allowance versus chores. You never pay for chores. You live here, you contribute. That's the way I look at that. But every child deserves to get allowance because they deserve to learn how to manage money. So I started at the age of 3. So you can look that up. It goes into detail about how you do that. But yeah, I separate the two. I would never pay for chores. No freaking way. You live here, you contribute. Because imagine if they grow up and have roommates, who'd want to live with someone who was never contributed? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to learn how to take out the garbage. I mean, thank you. Well, this is an interesting one, and I'm going to make a comment about it. Thank you for helping all of us. Some of us are starting from scratch and breaking generational curses. Yeah, it's not always generations. My mother was very much a leader. I could tell her anything. I wasn't raised by the authority style or the pleaser, really. My mom was a leader. I cared what she thought. And she wasn't as strict as I was. She let more go. But we're all a little bit different. But she was still the leader. Like if I did something bad or something she didn't like, she would look. This is the look I got. And that I hated it because I looked up to my mom. She was my leader. I told her everything. I thought the world of her. And if she looked at me like that, I was embarrassed, you see, because she was a leader. So, and she was born in 1922. So that one, talk about generations. It's a personality style too. She never yelled. They never yelled. But neither my parents. My dad was more the pleaser. My mom wasn't. She was the leader. You only need one leader, by the way. And but yeah, so that very much they were very. My mom was way ahead of her time with that. Um, like I was never yelled at, not once, not ever. The only time I was ever yelled at, I was 26 years old, and it was a friend of a friend. We both liked jazz. We went to a jazz bar together. I kind of knew she had a mental illness. She evidently had bipolar or something. So I knew I'd heard that she could be a little bit crazy at times, and I can go off her nut sometimes. But I liked her, and so we went out to this jazz club, and I guess she was having a bad night, and nothing had happened that I even knew about. And she yelled at me in front of the whole club, just yelled at me for no reason. I had driven there. I'd never been yelled at my whole life. I was 26 years old, and I stood up and I took my keys and I drove home and left her there. I never went out alone with her again, and we just saw each other friends. She was so apologetic, but I'd never been yelled at. If you've never been yelled at, it is something you would not tolerate. Like I just never. I respect myself too much to allow that. But yeah, she felt really bad about it, but I don't take that. Anyway, so yeah, I'd never been yelled at. And I guess people who grew up being yelled at, that wouldn't have been as big a deal, right? Plus, it was so embarrassing because it was in front of this whole club, and I used to be a regular there. Like I love jazz, and back in the day, and it was I didn't go back there for months. I was humiliated because it made it look like I was being yelled at for something. Oh, just thinking because I hate low class stuff. Like I just hate that kind of stuff. It was so tacky. Oh, it's humiliating. It's funny you can still. That was what, like 40 years ago. I can still remember that feeling. Okay. Oh my God, that truly makes me never want to yell at my kids again. One of my biggest videos ever was one of the first ones I ever did. I just was brand new on TikTok. And it's like, I don't know how many millions of views it's got now, but it was, and I never did it again. I never talked like that again, but I was brand new on here. And I said, what does yelling do to you? Why you should never yell at your kids, I think I called it. I did it a year ago. And I went into how it, how it affects them. I won't go into it because I know most of you do yell, but yeah, I went into it, and yeah, it got a real big response. But I don't want to get views by making people feel bad, so I just talk about what you do instead. But yeah, it was a huge video. If you're interested, you can go back and look at it. I think it's called Bratbusters: Why You Should Not Yell at Your Kids, or Why You Should Never Yell at Your Kids, and it was at least a year old now. Okay, I definitely need to work on my leadership skills. I don't want to be an authoritarian parent. Yeah, that's the old-fashioned way, the authority my way, the highway. You listen to me because I said so, blah, 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 all that stuff. Then the new style is the pleaser parent. Let's discuss all your feelings. I'm going to make everything easy for you. I'm going to roll out the red carpet. The authority tends to raise resentment in the teen years. The pleaser tends to raise teenagers who wipe their feet on them. But if you're going to err on either side, err on the side of the authority. The authority raises stronger young people. The pleaser raises entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. That they're more inclined to do that. So yeah, if you're going to err on either side, err on the side of the authority. I don't do either. I'm the leader. So it's just different. It's heavily based on connecting and listening and correcting bad behavior. But yeah, that's a small part of it. And once you get their respect, they don't do anything anyway. Right through the teen years, it's a piece of cake. Okay. I think I'm a pleaser because I'm scared. Oh, boy, by the way, both the pleaser and the authority both tend to yell equally. They're both yellers. I think I'm a pleaser because I'm scared to make mistakes and cause trauma. Any tips to stop that? Work on your leadership skills. She threw herself on the floor, super whiny, and she will just yell and then whining. Well, how old is she? I don't know. Let's say she's 3. I would completely ignore that. I would even, to make my point, if I was walking somewhere, I would just walk right over them as if I didn't even know they were there. It's just making a point of the fact that gets no attention from me whatsoever because I'm a leader. That gets no attention. I'm not going to feed that at all. Oh, pleasers yell. Absolutely. Pleasers yell. Not so much earlier on but later on they tend to yell because as the kids get older, that pleaser style that's so trendy right now backfires big time. When the kids are like 7, 8, 9, it really backfires. That's when the yelling really kicks in. I've been doing this for 17 years. I've seen it all. But I saw that one coming 30 years ago when that style came in. I saw this coming. I said, boy, talk about there's going to be mental health issues out the wazoo. And yeah, it's not good. I'm a yeller pleaser. Yeah, most pleasers yell because pleasing doesn't work. You don't get respect at all. So you yell because you don't know what else to do. It's a style that backfires. It's a style you're just setting yourself up. Yeah, I won't go into it. And I'm not targeting one specific method. By the way, I've never looked at any of them. It's a whole bunch of different parenting people out there are teaching this. It's very trendy. There's lots of books on it because my clients tell me. I don't look at it. I stay away from all that. Because I'm kid taught. So I stay pure to that. I'm very, very pure. It's like being organic when you're with your diet. I'm very organic with my parenting style. Kids were my teachers. No adults taught me any of this. Not one. In instances when you can't walk away, what else can I do? You mean you can't walk away, you can't leave them somewhere? Well, then you just stand there and ignore them. Or you might even pick them up and walk away with them. You have to take them out, but you're still not giving them any attention. You hold them away from you. Your hand on the back of their head, and they're facing the other way, and you just put them in the car seat if you have to go. You're not looking at them or talking to them. You can still ignore, but physically move them. What about when one parent is authoritarian, dad not together? Does it confuse the child? Okay, the child they're like a beacon. You're like a beacon when you're the leader. They're drawn to the beacon. They're drawn to the leader. They tend to, by the time they're three and a half to 3 3/4, they will carry your leadership umbrella everywhere. What they're like with you, they tend to respect everybody when you're a good leader. Okay, so it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing with them. They still tend to be, because they're drawn to that leader, because that leader brings out the best in them. That's when they feel the best about themselves. That's why they act nice wherever they go. It's just the way it is. You don't, they only need one leader. What is the worst case you've had to deal with teenagers? Well, you can guess. I'm not going to say it on here. I specialized in teenagers for years, and yeah. Yeah, I can't talk about all that stuff on here. The reason is it would be flagged. I'd be kicked off. But yeah, I've seen it all, and I deal with a lot of crisis situations with the only two things that I say: I will work with you if if your teenager has these two issues, but I can't fix those issues. I can just help you as a parent, perhaps manage yourself through these two issues. One is eating disorders, and one is drug addiction. Those are two things. I can't cure that. And there's no guarantees with any of this, anything anyway. But those are two things I can help you cope with it potentially. But you have to have other people helping. And those are two things that are just very difficult to deal with. But all the other stuff I do. Will you be doing group coaching again? Yes, I am doing it right now, but it's full. And so yeah, I'm going to have to figure that out, because that course is just with group coaching. So I'm going to have to set up another course where it's the same course, but much less money without group coaching. So even if it's full, other people can still get access to the course. So anyway, I'm going to have to figure that out, aren't I? Okay. Because I can't serve tons and tons of people in group coaching. I've realized I want to cap it a certain amount. What days do you go live? Every day, but I never know what time. Like tonight, I have tonight free, so I'm on here now. Well, I can even ask you now, what kind of group coaching do you want? Do you want the course? Well, it's full, so I'm going to have to sort that out. But what I'm going to be doing is, I thought, I can't quite figure out exactly how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to call it, the first one's going to be with toddlers, toddler talks. And it's just going to be an hour group coaching session. And I'm going to have a few different dates. I'm going to be testing this out, $50 for 1 hour. And you turn up with a bunch of other parents of toddlers. And it's going to be called Toddler Talks. And we're just going to discuss parenting, and you can talk, and, it's going to be on Zoom. So it's like group coaching. So that's going to be, just turn up whenever you want, get some information on, and see other parents too. So I'm going to throw a few of those out there with dates, different times. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'll go from there to see how to do that. And I figure the course, I'm going to just reduce the price without the group coaching and allow that to have to be available too. And then you can pace it however you want. You'll just get the whole course in one go. Or should I pace it out, one lesson per week like it is normally? I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I haven't decided. But anyway, timeout for 4-year-old. If not, why? I hate timeout. Can't stand it. Never did, never will. Yeah, it's mean. It's very humiliating. It would be like, let's say you worked for someone and they said, hey, you made a mistake there. Go sit in a corner. And you think about what you did. Then when you're done with that 10 minutes, or 1 minute per age, so 40 minutes. So when you come out of that timeout, then we're going to discuss everything you did wrong. It's just humiliating. And yeah, I hate it. So it drags it all out. It's so negative. So they did something bad and you just say, hey, I didn't like that. You come clean a window. Or come sweep the floor. If they won't do it, say, okay, no TV for the rest of the night. That's your choice. All done. No TV. You see, it's just quick, really quick. How many can join the toddler Zoom? I don't know. I'm going to throw it out there. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to allow whoever wants to turn up can turn up that first time. If it's overcrowded, if it goes crazy and I can't handle it all, I'll give you another free one. If it's that crazy, if it's, so we'll see. I'm going to test it out and see how it goes. I don't know what you want. And you don't know what you want until I've done it. I don't know how it's going to work. The group coaching I love, but I only had 10 going through it that first time. And it depends on how many chatty people you get. Like, I know if I was doing that, I'd be putting my hand up constantly. So it depends. If you get a whole bunch of chatty people, which is what makes it fun, you feel bad when you can't address everybody, right? Because I want everyone to be able to come up and talk. So anyway, I'll either drag it out for a longer period, or so we'll just test it out. I'm not going to cap that. I'm just going to see how many people turn up, and then I'll figure it out from there. But you'll get served. I'll figure it out. Okay. I haven't set it up yet. I've just been so freaking busy. Plus, I'm obsessed with results. And if I think I'm going to put something out there and it's not going to be the way I want it to be, I hold it back for a while. I just want to make sure. I got to figure it out. I've been doing this for so many years now. Like, coaching is easy. I've been doing coaching for 17 years. That's easy. It's all these other things. I got to test them out and see how it goes. And so I'm not committing to anything. Okay. We did away with timeout after you said this is a few months ago. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, it is humiliating, isn't it? What to do with an impatient toddler who whines and cries when he doesn't get what he wants right away? Just ignore him. Just ignore him. They're born a certain way. Okay. Their behavior is on you 100% past the age of 3. Before that, they're just nuts. They're crazy. The toddlers are crazy. They've got nothing in there yet, right? They're one marble and some tumbleweed floating around. They're just crazy. So, but after 3.5, their behavior is all on you. It's all on you. So, which is good news. That means you got a lot more control than you think. And with teenagers, you've got so much more control than you realize you do. You wouldn't believe the amount of control you have with teenagers. Once you make them feel good about themselves and you bring out the best in them, holy moly, they'll do backflips, just not wanting to disappoint you. You don't want teenagers to want to please you. You just want them not to disappoint you, because you're sort of their barometer for how they're going. That's that leadership stuff. You're not telling them what to do. It's okay. Yeah, so would you, for $50 for a 1-hour group Zoom, would you turn up? Would that be something you want? Like, should I just throw that out? I figure I'll throw out 3 of them, 3 different days and times. Is that something that you would want? Because I think it'd be great if you could see each other, right? Yes, I got. So you can see each other. Because that's what that group coaching taught me with that course, was they were a little bit more shy at first, and then they just started yabbering and talking and really, because you're all in the same boat. There's nothing wrong with you. You're just learning this leadership stuff. So parents tend to get very self-conscious if their kids are acting out. And when they see that, hey, you know what? There's nothing wrong with me. I'm normal. So that's what I think it's going to be best for that. You're just going to see that you're not the only one going through this. Okay, what's the best? Okay, I'll do it. I will do, I'm trying to get 3 of them out this week and different times. And then you just sign up on my website. I will not give you the Zoom link probably until right before. So just make sure you have I'll say all that. It'll all be labeled on there. So, but yeah, I don't like to give out Zoom links until right before the thing. What's the best way to correct my 5 and 3-year-old fighting over everything and hurting each other? You separate them. So if they're fighting over something, you say, okay, I don't like the fighting. You come with me. Take the older one away first. Take the older one just in the kitchen with you or something. You're not scolding them. You're just separating them. So to keep them apart for maybe 15 minutes or something, then you say, okay, try and get along, whatever, whatever. Put them back together, watch them like a hawk. The next time you pull out the other one. They may be kicking and screaming. Take charge of this stuff. And then take them out for 10 minutes or whatever. And then do that all weekend long. They'll eventually get sick of it. They'll be sick of being pulled away from the fun. And they'll learn to either get along or whisper fight. And who cares if they're whisper fighting? What I mean is so that you can't hear them fighting. They'll just learn. Or there's lots of different methods. You can literally put tape down the middle of the room and here split up the toys, but you have to do double tapes. Otherwise, they're that close together. So like put the tape about 4 feet apart so no one can go in the center. No toys can go in there. No kids can go in the center. It's a whole thing. I've done tons of these different ideas. Just get creative. They'll get so sick of being separate, they'll learn how to get along. So, we're always, and also okay. We're always trying to stop kids from being bad, but sometimes you have to teach them how to be good. Like you got to teach them how to share. Um, I've got 3 videos on sharing. I did them all in a sequence. I did them about a month ago. If you look up sharing, I've got 3 specific videos, 3 different methods on how you teach kids how to share. But you can't do that with under 3-year-olds. They're, they're not there yet. But yeah, you can teach them how to share. Would be a good story for that right now. No, that's not a good one. No, anyway, you can look those up if you're in, Is it okay to join the toddler group if I have a baby? Absolutely, because you're going to have a toddler right around the corner. So it's good to prepare for that. And any age can join that, I guess. But once you've got older kids, you're not going to want to. But yeah, that would be for anyone who has children, probably 3. I would say it could even be 3-year-olds. They can still be on the behavior board, but they still got a lot of kind of toddler in them. So 3 to 3.5, you can still join in. But I'll put all that on my website, and then I'll announce that on here. But yeah, I would say newborn, like new parents, up to 3.5, because you want to prepare for those toddler years too. And there are a few tips that I have, but basically they're nuts, right? You just gotta suffer through the toddler years. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains, and they're gonna do weird stuff. They might even stick their hands in their pants and smear poop all over the wall. Perfectly normal for some toddlers. So yeah, they're just gonna do what they're gonna do. They have no concept of the world yet. They have no context of what's normal. Like to them, think about it. If you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for one of those, you were a potato laying on a mattress, like how would you understand the world? They're very clever, but they have no experience or no context of what the world is yet. So think about that, right? And they're only working on urges, not thought processes. That's why those mini therapy sessions are so stupid. They're just garbage because they're not working on thought processes. They're just working on urges. Ooh, looks good, touch. Like they just don't think things through. But the consistent corrective actions can have it teaches them in a different way. It teaches them through repetition. It's like they'll touch a hot oven maybe 10 times, but the 11th time they won't. But they're not really thinking it through. They just get used to not touching it. They get used to being burnt. You know what I'm saying? Like it's I don't even know what I'm saying. Never mind. Okay. If you separate them, okay. Well, if you separate them all day for not getting along, what if they flip out and throw themselves on the floor or pull away from you? Well, there's ways of doing this. It's kind of more involved. But yeah, if you can't control a 5 and a 3-year-old, you got to work on your leadership skills more. You always want to work on their behavior, but really it's your leadership. It's everything, because that wouldn't happen if you were a leader. So you got to work on your leadership skills, get the behavior board going. Do not say get along with your sibling, because that's useless. You just start on the behavior board. It's free on my website. If you want to hire me, that's not free, but it's also on my website, bratbusters.com. So, but yeah, they just don't do that if they respect you. If you're a leader, that doesn't happen. It just doesn't. All the problems are solved once you're a leader. It's like there are no problems. Like you can just talk to them like, hey, I don't like that. So, and oh, sorry, mom. That's how it goes. Like it's that easy. So yeah, maintaining respect is piece of cake. Getting it is hard work. Setting yourself up as a leader, you got to work for this. It's hard work. It's like dieting. It's worth it, but it's hard. It's really hard work. Oh, I don't quite understand your wording there. I'm trying to make sense of it, and I know on TikTok everyone writes so fast, so maybe there's a typo, or I just couldn't pick up on what you mean. How do you teach manners to an 8-year-old? Sometimes he can be rude. Well, we set examples for manners usually. Like children usually learn all their social skills from us and from other kids too, but from us. So if his manners, you mean like, does he not say please and thank you? There's no way my kids would have got anything without saying, yeah, please have. So yeah, it's just repetition, but you got to be consistent with this stuff too. Manners are repetition, very much so. Like even with older kids, it has to be every single time. Like I'm drinking Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi. Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, never mind. Oh, I know. I've had friends of my kids come over and they'd say, oh, can I have that? Like they'll actually say, "Can I have that?" Like I'm just floored by that a kid would come over to someone's house, like a 10-year-old, and say, "Oh, I want some of that too," or something. Like just floors me. So I'd say, "Well, that's not the way to get anything with me. You might want to start with, may I please have?" And they, oh, so trying to make a joke out of it. But yeah, I want some of that too. Could you imagine? Like, just, is it unrealistic to expect initiative from a 13-year-old? Yes. Yes. But uh, yes, but you can't expect them to want to have it. There you go. But you can expect them to learn that they've got to do what they need to do before they can do what they want to do. So let's say you've got a 13-year-old who loves gaming. Hey, sure, you can game as soon as you've done your chores. So they use the as soon as method. I used to say that to my kids. Mom, can I go on the PlayStation? Sure, as soon as you've done your chores. Oh, right, okay. Then they just do. Then they just learn. You got to do what you need to do until you can do what you want to. So they didn't have the initiative to do it, but as soon as they asked to do, like when they were teenagers, but as soon as they asked to be taken somewhere or do something, then I would say, yeah, as soon as you've done that. Oh, okay. It was no big deal. So expect them to have initiative. Yeah, that's a bit of a big ask, but they can learn to have the self-discipline to do what they need to do before they can do what they want to do. But don't expect too much from teenagers. The expectations are what messes you up. You expect way too much from your teenagers, and you even expect them to care what you think or feel. Like they're so self-absorbed that your feelings are way down on the list with them. They don't intentionally want to hurt you or be inconsiderate a lot of the time. They're just so self-absorbed because they're going through a lot. So you have to have realistic expectations with teenagers. I think that's what gets parents in a lot of trouble because teenagers do change. They go through hormones. Their brains are just so overwhelmed with hormones, and they're very self-absorbed, and that's completely normal. But they still need to be polite and do the basics. But one thing I did give my kids was I gave them their room to mess up because I thought, I'm not going to control. I don't believe in micromanaging teenagers, and they were really great kids. They didn't have any curfews or anything, and we just worked through everything in the moment. And but I gave them the gift of a dirty room. So I said, look, I'm not going to make you clean your room anymore, but there's two rules: no food in your room, and no dirty clothes in your room, because I don't want rats living in there. Plus, there was no gaming consoles or screen or TVs in their rooms. So they just couldn't lay in bed all day, kind of thing. So that was what I did. But anyway. Huh. Thank you for answering my question. I have implemented screen time as positive reinforcement. I don't quite know what you mean by that. So as a reward for being good, kind of thing? Um, yeah, I don't quite do that, but I don't know. Maybe you're doing it the way I do it, but I don't quite use those terms, so I don't know. That almost sounds like their reward chart kind of stuff, which, I hate reward charts. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you're doing it right. It's just the wording I don't quite understand there. This one I never like to answer except in coaching. And the reason is I need more context around it. Like, I guess I taught my 4-year-old to tattletale on her siblings. Now she constantly does it. How do I stop it? I don't know what's going on there. Like, I don't know, is it legitimate, or are they pushing her? Are they pushing her away so that's the only way she can get attention? So there's a little bit more context around that one. Yeah. Oh, so the screen time is for taking initiative and completing chores. Yeah, it's not like bad. It was just the wording with the chores, with the screen time as a positive reinforcement. At what age do you suggest teaching finances? I did that when my kids were 3. I taught them allowance. And I have a whole thing on that. I have tons of videos on that. If you look up Bratbusters allowance, it'll pop up to explain how I taught my kids about money management. Plus, right through the teen years, they still come running to get that deposit done, right? Because I didn't give them any money in that bank, Mom's Bank. I call it Mom's Bank. It was just a book that I used to use. I didn't put any money in there until they were right there. So it's a really great way to get your teenagers to come and talk to you every day too. And it just starts conversations. So it's a great leadership skill. Anyway, I really have to go. Not that I'm doing anything exciting tonight. My voice is starting to go. Anyway, it's been a total pleasure. I'm going to get that Toddler Talks Zoom thing figured out, and I should get those out this week. I was going to do it last week, and I just got so busy. So anyway, I'll get that done. And then if you go on my website, it's bratbusters.com. You can hire me for personal one-on-one coaching. You can buy one of my courses, or you can download my free behavior board. My big course is on my website, but it's full right now. So I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to offer it, I think, without the coaching in there if you still want it that way, and the greatly reduced price. And so that you can still get it, but without the coach. It's the group coaching. I just don't have time to manage all that right now. Because it's full. So anyway, I just got here. Yeah, I've been on here for an hour and 20 minutes, an hour and 1958, 1959, an hour and 20 minutes. Anyway, yeah, I've got to go. My voice is, I can tell it starts to get sore. So anyway, I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Happy parenting. And check out my website, bratbusters.com. There's more stuff on there. And I've got tons and tons of videos on here. So, and I do have playlists at the top of my bio. So we'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great weekend. Bye now.